Welcome to Intentional Conversations, conversations designed to inspire you, to ignite something inside of you, and to empower you to live a more intentional life that's full of meaning, fulfillment, and impact. I'm joined today by Jenn Lewis. Jenn is a holistic weight loss coach, and she's not only sharing her tools and tips for weight loss, but how she works with clients is she always looks at what's underneath, meaning the emotional space and the mindset and those blocks. So she does strategy and the emotional piece. And here's the good news, her tips and everything she's talking about today can be applied in all areas of your life. It's not just weight loss. So I'm so excited for you to come on in and join this conversation. All right, Jenn, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Melanie. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I like to start every conversation asking the person how they define intention.
That's such a powerful question. Intention to me is being fully aware of what I want to accomplish and who I am, and setting that intention to just be fully present in what I'm called to do.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd love to jump in. I know you're a holistic wellness coach, and I want to talk a little bit about your journey. Take us through how you got to where you are now, working with women, working with one-on-one clients, having the group programs that you have. I'd love for you to take us on that journey.
Sure. So it was more than a decade ago, I found myself completely overwhelmed with life. I was 70 pounds overweight and just completely exhausted. And what I found is that I was in this place that I didn't like the way that I felt. And I was a new mom. I had this amazing career, but somewhere in me was just disconnected. And I felt like I would eat and eat and eat. I would find myself in the fridge and just eating food, just constantly, just trying to numb that feeling that I was feeling. And so I found a plan, right? I had tried everything, it hadn't worked. And I found a plan, and then all of a sudden I lost the 70 pounds. But here's the thing. When I did that, I got sicker than I had ever been. My body hurt so bad, and I was more exhausted than I had been. And then I had a cancer scare, so they were trying to figure out what's going on with your body and so on. But going through all of this, I had my friends asking me, like, oh, what did you do? I mean, when you lose 70 pounds, people understand, like, hey, what did you do? They want to know. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to tell you what I did because I feel worse than I had ever felt. And so that's when I just threw myself into education. So I needed to know there had to be a better way. And I wanted my journey to be impactful to somebody else. I wanted them to know, okay, you can lose weight, but there has to be a better way that we're healthier. And so I threw myself into school, and through that journey just figured out, our bodies are so powerful, and the food that we put in it affects not only our body, but our mind, our spirit, everything, the people around us. It's very powerful. And so that's how I came to be here.
I love that. And I know a big part of what you work with clients around is, yes, it's about the weight loss, but there's also this sort of additional underneath piece that more and more people are talking about it now, but there is that whole emotional component and the mindset component. And I'm wondering, I'd love for your specific journey to know how it was. Like you lost the weight on a program that it actually didn't work. It didn't land well in your body, like
Right.
physically, even though you lost the weight. I'm wondering if
Right.
you can sort of contrast the difference between that versus now what you're doing, really empowering the body, mind, and spirit with your clients.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. It's a beautiful question, because when we have the how to, right? And I think that when we are in this place of just needing something to work, right? We're kind of in that place of desperation as a woman, because emotionally we're not aligned. We haven't necessarily been taught how to deal with the emotions that we're feeling. And my clients tend to be those highly sensitive women that are feeling the energy of everybody else. We don't always know how to deal with that. And so not only do you get the how to or have that healthy way of being, but we have stories that we tell ourselves, right? So is it okay if I share a little personal story about my own kind of what comes up for me that I all of a sudden feel like I need to eat and kind of hide out? When I was younger, I had bad experiences with men. And so when I would start to lose weight, it would get very scary for me, very scary, because all of a sudden I felt vulnerable. I felt like I was going to get attention that I didn't want. And so then I would eat to protect myself, right? Or then as I went, and I didn't have awareness of that. I didn't know that, right? I didn't understand that until now, where, through studying different modalities about the brain and the stories and what we store within ourselves, I didn't understand that. I just knew I didn't want to feel that way. So I would eat, right? Or I didn't even know. It wasn't even awareness. It was
Well,
just,
that's the thing. It's totally unconscious. It's like it's
yes,
like you're just doing it. And that's where that awareness comes in, where it's like, wait, pause, what's happening?
exactly. That is where that turning to that inner wisdom, and what I teach is slow down, listen to what's going on around you. Your thoughts aren't real. What you're feeling may not be real. So when you can settle in and align and listen to your body, who is so wise, you will know how to proceed forward. You will know when something is not right. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
powerful.
And I think that that's so true with so many people. It's around
Right.
the vulnerability, that like protection piece. Like I know that
Yes.
very, very well. And I think it's so curious to me because as you were describing it, I thought it's so interesting because that's the same way with all areas of our life. Like you said, slow down. Like the thoughts aren't real. Well, yes, that's for weight loss. It's for running a business. It's in so many areas. We're just so fast and we're quick. And
Yes.
I often say the ego is very fast. The
Yes.
soul is slow. And so it's
Mhm.
about training ourselves to be really present
Yeah.
and to be
Right.
really, and with any, I would imagine with any sort of something that we use to numb, whether it's food, whether it's alcohol, whether it's shopping, social media, you can fill in the blank. But
Yes.
a lot of times what happens is we do it, it's very reactionary, and then
Yes.
we get that dopamine hit, and then
Yep.
we feel like shit afterwards, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And so that's where being slow can
Yep.
actually help, and it brings in that awareness.
Yes.
And then we're not just reacting to whether it's something going on with us or someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that awareness. It's that being intentional with our time, being intentional with our thoughts, being intentional with our actions. And it's a powerful, powerful practice as women to learn, to settle in and listen to our inner wisdom. We know it's just, as you said, we're so fast and we have so much coming at us. Our phones, the radio, our busy lives, running a business. I mean, as you know, as an entrepreneur, right? We can be working till all hours of the night, all day long, if we don't set those intentions for ourselves to settle in, listen to what that inner wisdom, what she's telling us.
Yeah, I love that, because that's really, if we break it down, the feminine essence. And this is something that I've worked with some amazing teachers, and I continue to work on it. That feminine essence is actually, it is that sense of slowing down, of that listening and then acting. And I just think that really, we were never trained that way. Our mothers were never trained that way. It's just not something we learn.
Right.
And so it's beautiful that this is a tool that you're teaching your clients, because I often say, listen, how we do money is how we do everything. How we do weight is how we do everything. Like, it's how we do everything, right? So people can take these tools and say, okay, yes, I'm going to do this to take better care of my body, but they're certainly translatable to all areas.
Yeah, that is something I say. The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And we can look at that in our lives and see that as evidence in, as you said, business, relationships, food, money, you name it. It's there. Yes. Yeah.
That's
powerful.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'd love to dive a little bit deeper, only because in my life, like I'm very sensitive, and but I was sort of conditioned to not be, if that makes sense. So like, So, in my later years, as I started doing a lot of work, I came to realize that I was more empathic and can feel everything. And I can see in my own life how the eating piece would be a way that, I would numb that out, only because what's mine, what's not mine, why am I feeling this way? So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit around that piece.
Oh, I would love to. So just a backstory. So I am that empath, intuitive woman to a T. And I didn't understand that. As a child, I was told, you're too sensitive. You need thicker skin. I was never taught how to process that emotion, how to process that feeling, and understand it as a gift or a natural ability that we as women have when we tune into it, right? I was taught, stuff it down, make it go away because it's making you too soft, too sensitive, right? It was a negative attached to it. And so then coming up through, it's like, okay, well, how do I deal with this? I don't want to deal with it, right? I'll overwork, I'll overeat, I'll do all of these things to stuff it away. So coming in and understanding that, coming into that gift and understanding that, hey, maybe this is just a gift, because I can be in tune with that spirit. I can get guidance that maybe I didn't know was there, right? And it also comes with picking up other people's energies, that if I'm not careful, which I know now, but if I'm not careful, I would carry that as my own. And as you know, whenever you're trying to be somebody you're not, that can really bring you down. That can be so draining and exhausting, right? It's only when we are our true selves, giving and serving in the way we're being called to serve, that we can have that energy and that empowerment. So what I have found, because when I originally started in my career, I was working with these highly sensitive ADHD, on the spectrum type children. And what I found is they were just this amazing, in tune, highly sensitive children that just couldn't filter everything out, right? They just couldn't filter it out. Like us as empaths, this is what happens if we're not intentional about how we do things. And what I found is that when we shifted the food, when we shifted what we were putting in their bodies, all of a sudden they could focus more. They could sort through how they were feeling. I had one child, I love him. His name is Lucas, right? He's this incredible child. He's 7 years old. And he gets on the phone with me, and he is like so sharp, a child that adults couldn't have this kind of conversation, right? But we went from him almost getting kicked out of school and being just completely scattered, overreacting to things, acting out in outbursts of anger, to now just fully focused, getting awards, accomplishing major things. I mean, national awards. And it was simply shifting what he put in his body. Because if you think about it, we're highly sensitive, right? You are highly sensitive, and that you pick up everybody else's energy. Imagine the food in your body is nothing but energy. So if you're putting in healthy, vibrant, living foods, your body knows what to do with that. But if you're putting in this other type of food that isn't right for your body, it's reacting in a negative way and sending out all kinds of signals and hormones and all kinds of stuff that is not going to help you think straight. It's not going to help you have energy. Your body's going to protect itself. There's a lot of different things going on within your system. And it's just because we're so sensitive to those things, we've got to feed our body accordingly.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good transition, because I'd love to know. I know one of your specialties is around finding the right foods that work for your body. And so I love the example of Lucas and the other children, but seeing how strictly cleaning up a diet really altered that ADHD. I'd love for you to speak to that on like what do you look for in the foods and the nutrients?
So the simplest way, and this is what I get a little bit frustrated about, because there's so much money spent on trying to trick you and saying, well, this food's healthy, this food isn't healthy, right? But the bottom line, the easiest way is however it comes from the earth, the closest you can get it to the earth is your gift to your body, right? You don't need to get man involved with all this processing and adding in this or adding in that. When we can just stay completely free from that kind of food and just choose whole, nutrient dense foods, the better we are. It really helps us as those intuitive women who are picking up that energy. It gives us clarity. It gives us that focus, and that being able to sort through the noise per se, right? Because there is no noise in this food. It's just natural, healthy, whole foods. And I don't mean whole foods, the grocery store, right? I mean just an apple is an apple, right? The broccoli is broccoli. We don't need something we have to open up out of a package or out of a box. We just need this nutrient dense food that intuitively we know is the right food for our body.
Yeah, I like that. So what about animal products?
You know, that is a good question, because I get a lot of questions, especially from women that are highly spiritual, right? So I am a highly spiritual woman. I believe in settling in and really connecting with that spirit that guides us, because why do it ourselves if we don't have to, right? I mean, the universe is going to give us powerful insight. We don't need to do it by ourselves. So I say you choose foods that agree with your body, because there have been periods of time in my life where I've been 100% vegan. And while that worked for me for a moment, then all of a sudden it wasn't working. I couldn't think straight. My body needed something, right? I was having cravings. And anytime you have cravings, that's your signal from your brain for a couple different reasons, right? It could be you need nourishment from your food, or it could be you need nourishment from your life, right? But you need something that your body is asking you for. And that's where you settle in and listen to her, and you will uncover. But if you're on these, because I hear that a lot, right, is as vegans, to connect deeper, we need to be vegan. We need to not have animal products. But I say you have to listen to your body. And how you tune in and listen is if you slow down and you're eating, let's say you're eating a vegan diet. It does need to be whole foods, not, Oreo cookies. And, there's a difference in how you eat. So if that is something that your body responds well to, absolutely, I'm 100% for it, but it needs to be done in the right way for your body. And there are some people that do need the animal products, and that's okay too. We have to listen to our body. And if you are going to choose animal products, remember that they carry energy. And so if you're choosing the farm factory raised, that's not good for anybody, right? Especially, I mean, the animal, there's no, how do I say this? Because I'm passionate about animals. And so really looking at that, how is that animal, what is that animal giving to you? That can you get it from some other place? Or do you really need to center in and be so grateful and in gratitude and be mindful of where that product comes from?
Yeah, I love that. That's what I was curious to get your take on that. Especially because I know you really specialize in a lot of keto. But for me, it's the same idea. I would say I lean more towards vegetarian. However, there are times that my body does need the meat, and I try to do, well, I don't try, I always do humanely raised, because I do believe that the energy, and this is for anyone, I would think, whether you're sensitive or not, the energy of how that animal was treated and then passed, you're then ingesting it. And I think that's not something that's talked about a lot, but it's something to really think about. But yeah, I have non-negotiables. Like pork is non-negotiable for me. I used to babysit some pigs, and I know you have, like, I
have a pig rescue.
Yeah, I know. Like it's no judgment if people do it. If I'm at breakfast with someone and they order bacon, I don't have judgment. But for me personally, it's a non-negotiable. But everything else, as long as it's humanely raised, that's what I try to err on. And I always sort of have gratitude and bless it. Or it comes into my body.
Right. And I think it's important too, is that we understand we don't need that much protein. And that's the thing with the keto. There is a right way, right? There's a right way to do it. And yet I see a lot of this whole meat and cheese, and we forget about the rest of what our body needs. And when it comes to animal products, we don't need that much. We are over consuming, and it's not healthy for our bodies. We need to be consuming vegetables and fruits and the green leafies. That's where you're going to have the most health benefits.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to go back to something else that you said, because again, I love this conversation because it's so translatable to other areas. But you said, when we're talking about the food, it's about, listen, whether you choose to eat animals, whether you choose to only eat plants, whatever you choose to do, it's about getting quiet, slowing down, checking in with that inner wisdom. That's with everything. Like, we're so quick to look outside of ourselves instead of saying, and I think we're trained to do that as a culture. We're trained to go to the doctor, look for this, get the answers outside, versus saying, and just being up to experimenting. Like sometimes I'll experiment. Like, I have to tell you, I love cheese, but I just did a detox and I'm incorporating foods, and I'm very upset about this, but the cheese it's not sitting well. And it's very heartbreaking to me, but it's like, this is why we do it, to see like it's not working well in the body, And so I think that's the thing. And that's with everything. That's with business. That's with life. Like, what if every decision we made, we said, let me check in with that inner wisdom, and then
Exactly. And that is such a powerful thing, because, and that's one of what I teach my clients is we remove certain foods out of our diet for just 2 weeks. And I look at it like when we're out of the sun for an extended period of time, when we go back into the sun, what happens? We get sunburned, right? Where if you remove certain offending foods for 2 weeks and then put it back into your diet, your body will react and you're going to know, oh, this doesn't feel very good. And the way that you do that is you write it down. You write down your foods and you pay attention, right? I love the idea of writing it down, not just putting it in your phone, because that's not enough. It's that physical connection of listening to your body, being intentionally writing it down, because it does something. It brings you into what you're doing, right? We choose the food, we evaluate how it's helping us or not, and then we make changes. The same with business, right? Evaluate what you're doing. Is it working? If it's not, do you need support? Do you need to keep doing it by yourself, or do you need to get that coach that says, here's the streamline, right? That's what I do for my clients. Like, here's your streamline. This is what I know is beneficial for you because I've experienced it. I've had the experience with clients. You don't have to figure it out by yourself, right? The same with business. But we've been trained, you have to do this by yourself, right? You can do it. You're that achiever. And yet, as a community, we can help and support one another in such a powerful way. And one of those ways being, hey, reminding you, slow down, listen in. What is she saying? But let's sort through all of this noise and really listen to the one being that knows.
Yeah, and it's also about taking sort of ownership of it, that creative energy where you're like, I'm not just relying on you. I'm relying on you to give me information, but I'm going to sort of experiment and track and connect to the body. So there's a sense of empowerment that you're giving your clients, and I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, one other question I want to go back on, because I am curious when you were talking about being empathic and that we take on, that's, taking on other people's energy, emotions, that kind of thing. And then most of the time what'll happen is we'll then we'll do something to like numb it out. And so are there any like really simple tools that you can give if people are really sensitive and they feel themselves like they go to a gathering? I hear people say this all the time. They're like, I go to, a family dinner and I walk and I'm like miserable. And it's like, hello, you just absorbed everything. So can you give some like something that you've learned in your experience on how just a simple way that we can sort of protect ourselves?
I am still working on this. Okay. Let me just put it out there. I'm still working on this. I have good days and then I'm like, really the most powerful thing we can do is self-care, because when we are taking care of ourselves, we aren't so susceptible to taking on everybody else's stuff. And I'm not sure where that comes from. I don't know if that's just because we've set the intention to be showing up in our own highest intention, our highest best self. And so then we're radiating this energy that is more of a protective field. I'm not 100% sure. That would be my guess. But essential oils is another one. That's a big one for me. Anytime I'm going anywhere, I'm like dousing it on myself. Those are powerful. Cinnamon is a protective oil. So just putting that on you kind of propels the negative energies away.
I think those are great. And also just tying it back to sort of what you teach. I know for me in my own life, what's been really helpful is the more I'm centered and connected to deep inside of me, then I'm less likely to take on others.
Yes. Because you are trusting in yourself. You are trusting in your highest being showing up exactly the way she needs to show up, right? Not being open and susceptible to allowing other people to change our energies, because we have that solid understanding of who we are. And that is powerful, to be able to show up with that confidence and knowing I like who I am. I am here to serve. I am confident in my abilities, or I would not be here. I would not be called at this time to do what I'm doing. So I think there's never really an easy answer for me, because I feel like everything is so connected, that mind, body, spirit. And when we show up with that energy, we attract that good energy. We're intentional. So it's a piece of when we are intentional about showing up for ourselves, making our wellness a priority in mind, body, spirit. We are fully confident in who we are. We know who we are. We have tuned in to that inner knowing that guides us and leads us and helps us, right? And when you rely on that, you go out and we attract what we are, right? That's a powerful statement. We attract what we are. And so if you have worked on yourself, and maybe we don't always believe that we are that, and that's where those thoughts are so powerful. But when we do work on those things and we fully understand and we have that confidence, we go out and the energies that we are attracting are positive and they're good, and there's this deep connection that comes with that it isn't so like, get away from me type energy, right? It's more like, I want to be near you, because you can feel that deep connection, right? That alignment, because you're attracting that.
Yes. And I think also in my own experience and what I've learned is that,
Yeah.
and I've done a tremendous amount of work on this, and I'm finally at a
Yes.
place where I can have that frequency out, and my boundaries are so strong. My energetic boundaries are so strong, but my heart's open. And I think when our heart's open and we've got a strong boundary,
right,
people can feel that. And so I think that's just piggybacking on what you were saying. So
yeah, I love that what you said, because that's so true. And I'm glad you brought that up, is that boundaries, right? Because on that spiritual level and on the physical level, setting those boundaries that you're not going to allow people to do certain things or take advantage of you, or, suck that energy out of you, right? Because you've set that boundary, but then yet you're still open and loving and welcoming in that connection. So I love that. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's a good one.
Yeah. And sometimes that means eliminating those energy vampires in your life. And that's, we get to decide. Do you want to, what do you want?
Exactly. And as women, we need to be okay with that. We need to stop being those people pleasers that say, yes, yes, yes. We need to say, no, I don't want to. This is not in alignment, and being okay with that and not feel guilty, right? We don't need to feel guilty. When I look back on my upbringing, it was that martyr complex, right? You had to give so much of yourself and do for everybody else, and then you didn't have anything left for you. And it's like, no, I refuse to be that way. We have to be okay saying no, because that is when we can rise to our greatest potential and serve in the best way we're being called to do. So yeah, very powerful statement.
I love that. I'm ending it on that because that was amazing. So what's next for you, and where can people find you?
What's next for me? Well, I am actually getting ready to open up a 4-week foundations course that not only gives people the bottom line. I'm all about the bottom line. There's too much confusion out there. So the bottom line, what is best for your body to help her function the way that she's supposed to function? And so not only am I releasing the, food suggestions and lists and recipes and all that kind of how to, but we are going to work on the deeper stuff that's not out there, the mindset piece, mastering those thoughts, mastering the mindset, and really setting daily intentions to show up for ourselves in a much more powerful way. And the first step to getting access to that would be just go get my free workbook that helps people really just master your mindset. I call it the spiritual guide to lasting weight loss. That's where I work, but it's all about wellness, right? But they can find that at Jenn Lewis, it's JenLewis.com/spiritual, but they need to use the capital S or it will not open up the page. So maybe you can link it somewhere, but that would be the best way to start and really understanding why we get a little confused around the foods.
That's perfect. And yes, we'll certainly
Yeah.
link to it. Thank you for that. And I like to end all the episodes with you sharing one really tangible, something that someone can do as soon as they stop watching, as soon as they stop listening. And in this case, maybe it's one tip that they can apply to their life right now in order to get more in touch to that inner wisdom and to make decisions around food and what we're putting in our body that support that.
Sure, absolutely. It's such a good question. Thank you for asking. So I actually just did a piece on this on my own podcast, and we have so much noise in our heads. So what I recommend is getting a notebook, getting a pencil, and start writing. Start writing all the reasons, all the excuses that you tell yourself that you can't do something, right? If you want more energy, or you want to drop a few pounds, or you just want to feel better. But we usually have an excuse of some kind. And I say excuse, it's not a negative thing. It just is what it is, right? We're too busy. We're overwhelmed. I don't have time. And those are all legitimate reasons, right? So what I recommend is writing down all the thoughts in your head that convince you of these things, and then taking a step back, taking a deep breath and centering in, and then circling what is true. What is true? Chances are none of those are true, right? Because I can reframe it and say, do you really have the time not to be your healthiest, most vibrant, most energetic self? But we have to slow down and recognize that. So that's powerful. And then just writing yourself, what do I need to do to change this? And pick 2 simple things, and I'll give them to you. Water and eat veggies, like those, right? 2 powerful things, and just focus there. So, yeah.
That's great. I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much of your wisdom with all of us. And I love watching people who are really having an impact based on, like, you've been there and now you've turned that into the work that you're doing, and you're helping so many others. And so I really honor you, and thank you so much for everything you're doing and all the lives that you're touching. So thank you.
Thank you. And I value what you're doing and your mission and sharing, right? Empowering those women and connecting us to be able to make a bigger impact. So very much gratitude to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us in this conversation. And a huge thank you to Jenn for coming on and sharing so much of her wisdom with all of us. And everything that she shared, whether you're on a wellness journey or you're building a business or building a life, a lot of these tools can be applied to all areas. Connecting to our inner wisdom is everything and is life-changing. I'm so grateful to Jenn for coming on, and I'm so grateful for you coming along for this ride. All right, I will see you in the next Intentional Conversations. Until then, have a fantastic, beautiful, and intentional week.